Thank you, Benoy. Thank you. Like Benoy said, my name is Clayton Ostler, and just as he said as well, I want to thank you all for attending and for your time today. I want to congratulate you for being proactive in protecting yourselves and your families in using our product, and thank you for being interested in learning more about it and how you can use it better. Actually, the reason why I didn't have my slide in full screen mode before was because there was a quick picture I wanted to show you kind of as an analogy, and this will make a little bit more sense. But this picture here is a picture of the largest hammer in the world. And the reason why I'm showing you this picture is because we've discovered through talking with a lot of our customers that we provide a lot of tools in Net Nanny, but sometimes we don't necessarily use those tools the right way, and we use a giant hammer for a really small job. So today I'm going to use some of our Net Nanny features and show you how you can get more controls and better protection out of your existing products. I'm going to jump back to our slides right now. The format today is that I will cover some of these features. I'll jump back and forth between slides. I will show you how to use the product, the results, but I want to start out by just telling you two quick analogy stories. One of the analogy stories is a friend of mine. She's a neighbor. Her name is Jenny. She lives a few houses down, and I got a call from her about a year and a half ago. She's very non-technical, and she called me and said, I have some problems with my computer. Could you come down to my house and help me out? And she also said, could you help me get Net Nanny on our computer? So I stopped by on my way home from work one night, and I got to her house, and I realized that there was kind of an ongoing joke between Jenny and her family. And what had happened during the day is that Jenny had tried to download a program for her embroidery machine, and her computer had become infected with a virus. And because she was non-technical, this virus started opening windows on her computer, and she didn't really know what to do. And Jenny panicked, and so she tried to turn off her computer. When she turned it off, she obviously turned it back on, and the windows appeared again. And these windows were full of inappropriate images, things that she didn't want her kids to be exposed to. So in her frantic effort to control her computer and make sure that nothing appeared on the screen that would offend or be harmful to her kids, she ran to her sewing machine and got out her scissors and started cutting cords. And by the time I had reached her home, she had cut all the cords, including the HDMI to her monitor, the power cord, the USB cords, and she had succeeded in making sure nothing appeared on her screen, but obviously she'd used that big hammer to protect her family, and obviously we don't want our customers to have to use that kind of big hammer. So Net Nanny is a great tool for making sure those things don't appear on your screen. The other story that goes along with this is one of my colleagues here at work. One day we were driving in a car. We were out of town, and I heard a call from his teenage son, and the call went like this. Dad, I got to take Net Nanny off our computer. And I could hear my colleague say, well, why? Well, 'cause I'm trying to get to this website, and I'm trying to access this site for my homework, and Net Nanny won't let me get there. And I'm kind of listening in the background, and the conversation goes like this. Well, you can't take Net Nanny off. I'm sorry, you're out of luck. You're going to have to wait till I get home from work or get back from this trip. And, kind of went back and forth. And as I'm listening to this conversation, I realized that my colleague, although he works with Net Nanny every day, he didn't realize the power of some of the tools that I'm about to show you today. So I'll show you how to use those tools and how you can get the most out of your product as we go through this today. I just wanted to show you this real quick. Go to webinar, log in. This is the portion where you can ask questions. So please feel free to ask questions during the demonstration. At the end, we'll try to allocate as much time as possible to answering those questions and make sure that we get you comfortable with the product. I just wanted to introduce the product and the company a little bit. Net Nanny's been around for almost 13 years now. The company who owns Net Nanny, Content Watch, is really dedicated into protecting families. We distribute Net Nanny in about 135 countries, and we serve over 1 million families, protecting them online from the predators, cyberbullying, inappropriate content, and much more. I just wanted to point out some trends that we're noticing here as a company. Obviously, the trend of mobile devices is growing really quickly. About 43% of all teens in the world own an iPod Touch or similar device that has access to the internet. About 33% of those same teens have a cell phone that also has access to the internet. 63% of all teens update their Facebook status at least weekly and put personal information on it. And then the last one, which is relatively interesting, is about 83 million Facebook profiles are potentially fake. And that was just last month when we were able to obtain that information. So there's obviously trends in the marketplace, things that are changing frequently, and we're staying on top of those things here at Content Watch to make sure that Net Nanny protects you in all aspects. And I'll talk a little bit about those as well. So I just wanted to ask a quick question. One of the real common questions we get from most of our customers is regarding Apple and iOS. So we're working frantically to make sure we can provide a solution for iOS. However, Apple has made it really difficult to protect or filter applications outside of our very own application. So the application we're looking at distributing on iOS will be protected and have the Net Nanny filtering, but it may have less functionality than is found in our Windows or our Mac or our Android products. So I just wanted to have a quick poll and ask you quickly if you would still be interested in an iOS product, although the functionality may be a little bit less. So I'm going to go ahead and put up that poll. If any of you would like to answer, I would appreciate it. We'd like to get your feedback on if you're interested in iOS, and I understand that you may not have all the information you need, but any information you can give us about your interest in protecting Apple devices is great as we manage the product and decide how to best protect your kids and your families. So I'll give that just one more second. Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. And again, we appreciate all your feedback. I'm going to jump now into 3 valuable features that I'm going to cover today. These features are ways you can use the product, get more out of it, make your life easier, but also get the protection and the value out of the product that we really designed it for to make your life easier and help you have more peace of mind on the internet. The three things I'd like to cover today are requesting and granting overrides in the product, how you can get alerts, and how you can do these things, some of these things remotely as well. So I'll jump into that. The first one, which I'd like to cover, is requesting and granting overrides in the product. So a lot of questions that we get regarding the product are, hey, this website got blocked, or I don't ever want this website to be blocked, or my kids need to get to a specific website. How do we grant those overrides, and how can we allow access? So let me kind of show you what that looks like. I'm going to jump out of my slide. The computer I'm using right now has Net Nanny installed. So I'm going to just try to go to a poker website. Now, what happens on a standard Net Nanny installation is you see a picture that talks about the block message. And to give you a little bit better example, we'll use an example of maybe a weapons site. So instead of going to a poker website, I'm going to go to Wikipedia. Excuse me. Wikipedia. And here on Wikipedia, we're going to do a search for AK-47s. Now, this profile that I've set up right now is blocking weapons content. So you're going to notice that Net Nanny gives me the block message. Now, let's pretend I'm a 14-year-old and I'm doing a school report. Mom and Dad are home. I can't go and ask someone to uninstall Net Nanny like my friend's son did, and so I need to get to this site because I'm trying to do research on AK-47s. You'll notice right here there's a button here that says Request an Exception. And what your children can do, or your family that don't have administrative rights to Net Nanny can do to request an override is they click here, and they request that a website can either be recategorized or just allowed. So I'm going to say, please allow this, and I'll send the request. Now, a parent in the Net Nanny admin console, I'll jump over here, can go to Manage Exception Requests. Now, you'll notice here that this shows the user, the website that was requested, why it was blocked, and then it gives the parent the ability to create an exception. So in this case, if I wanted to allow it for my son, I would just simply click here, click on Accept Selected, and say OK, and that will automatically add that website to my son's or whoever's using Net Nanny's profile, and from there forward, they're able to access that website. Now, there's a few other things and exceptions that I'll show you when I go into alerts that make it much easier to use. But exceptions are a great way for you to be able to grant access to websites without having to get the phone call and go into Net Nanny and type in the websites manually. So this is obviously a key way to manage those overrides when a website is blocked that you don't need blocked. At the same time, here under web exceptions, you can create manual entries. And we get a lot of requests about this where you can enter a specific website or a whole domain. So we get a lot of customers that say, hey, I just went in and accepted an exception for AK-47s on Wikipedia, but Wikipedia is still blocked. In an exception, there's two options. You'll notice here when I say add, I can type in, let's say, youtube.com, and it would allow everything on the YouTube website. At the same time, if I allow an exception as I just demonstrated, it's only specific to the web page that I'm accepting the request for. So you kind of need to manage that based on what you'd like to do. It's something you need to be a little bit careful with. In my case, I don't think I'd ever say always allow everything on YouTube for my family. I don't necessarily know that that's the kind of protection, or I don't necessarily view everything on YouTube as safe for small kids. So that's just kind of it's going to be based on your opinion and your preferences. So that's kind of the first feature that I wanted to show you. I'll also show you how you can use some enhancements to that feature when I jump into some of these other features for the Net Nanny product. Jumping back here to our slides, the next one that I wanted to cover here is called alerts. Alerts are the ability for you to get an email when a trigger event occurs. So a lot of our customers say, hey, well, I'd really like to know when something happens, when my kids get blocked, or when they exceed time controls, when they try to go to an inappropriate website, or even when inappropriate chats are occurring. So let me kind of show you how that works in the Net Nanny product. Over here in the Net Nanny admin, you'll notice down here I have what's called Manage Alerts. And you can see these are existing alerts that are set up on my Net Nanny profile already. Alerts can be sent to an email destination or multiple emails based on trigger events or events that occur. And one just arrived down here in my email based on the block that we just saw, and I'll show you that in just a second as well. These alerts are designated based on what's important to you. And it can be based on web content, on IM content. Let me kind of show you some examples. So for example, here under websites, I can be alerted or receive an email when people are blocked or request an exception, when they're warned, when they continue on. And a real common one that a lot of people like to use is here under chat conversations. So Net Nanny is already monitoring the chat conversations, but if a chat or an IM conversation has potentially dangerous information, for example, here under IM, if someone sends questionable content to one of my kids, I'd like to know what that means. So if somebody sent an inappropriate picture, or they're talking about, hey, are you home alone? Those type of things, I want to be alerted of it. So this is where you can set up those alerts. When you create an alert, you identify who you'd like to send it to, which Net Nanny user you want to monitor, or all, and then you just say OK. So if you look here at my existing alerts, you'll notice here I have an alert for any Net Nanny user when a website is blocked to send it to costler@contentwatch.com. So if you look back here in my Outlook, you'll notice that I got this alert because we were just blocked, and it showed me which website was blocked. In my case, as I just mentioned, you can also receive alerts when someone requests an exception. So this alert that I'm showing you right here, let me jump to it, shows that the website was blocked and that it was requested an override by the Ostler user. So this lets me know, hey, my kids are at home, they're trying to get to this website, they were blocked, and they're requesting that I override it. So it allows me to know what's going on, and I'll show you in just a second how you can manage that remotely as well, which will make your life much, much easier. But alerts are a great way to be notified without having to log into the admin and look at the reporting data over and over. You can just be alerted of the things that are interesting to you. So that brings me to the last feature that I kind of wanted to cover, and this one's going to take a little bit more time, but that's the remote reporting and administration. So Net Nanny, obviously most people are familiar with the admin console that runs in the corner, and you click on the Net Nanny icon, but most of the time we don't have the ability to go back to the computer that our kids are using immediately. Sometimes we're at work. Sometimes they haul their laptop off and they're at school. I mean, there's all those scenarios where we're unable to get back on the physical computer to change settings. So all Net Nanny settings can be managed remotely from any web browser. So to do that, you open a web browser and go to manage.netnanny.com. This is available for all accounts. Anyone with a Net Nanny installation is able to do this. You put in your email address and your password that you associated with your Net Nanny administrator. Now when you log in here, you'll notice these are the same users, the same settings that you see here in the local Net Nanny settings. The difference is it's all web-based, and these settings will replicate out to your Net Nanny installations. So instead of going back to my computer and using the admin tools, I can make these changes directly from the website. You'll notice these have the same options where I can go in, I can view my requested exceptions, I can allow and deny them, I can create specific blocks and allows like we just talked about. I can manage the settings for my Net Nanny users. So this user, for example, C. Ostler, click here. We can see his existing settings for blocked and allowed categories. I can choose if I want to change categories that are allowed and blocked. Maybe I turn profanity masking off. I could set up those options for IM settings, and you can also still manage those alerts like we just talked about directly from this console as well. So this console is a great way to change those settings or view the settings remotely without having to go back to those computers. An additional feature included in this option is the ability to view reporting data. And you have to turn this feature on within your product, but it's really easy to do. So if you go to any of your computers that are running the Net Nanny software and go to the admin tools, here under any of your options, so I'll click here on web browsing, you'll notice there's an additional settings tab. Most people don't go into these settings, but there's an option clear at the bottom called allow remote viewing of reports. If you put a check mark in there, your Net Nanny client will not only keep the reporting data on the local computer, but it will send it up to this service in the cloud and on the internet where you can log in and view that reporting data. So it's a great way for you to check up on your family, get information about where they're going and what kind of internet activity or who they're chatting with without having to go back and sit down at that computer, which is really the ultimate goal. I have a teenager. If I told her I wanted her laptop back so that I could look at who she's chatting with on the internet, it might kind of raise suspicion, and I'd have that argument where we'd have that argument about, well, Dad, why do you need to know? But she knows that we're protecting her with Net Nanny, and to be able to look at reports without getting that device back just kind of reduces friction in her home. And the way that you can view these reports is over here. You can just go to the Reports tab. You can get the information about the categories of websites. You can scroll down further based on websites that were blocked, allowed, or warned. Content that was the number of websites that were accessed. And then if I drill into it further, I can get the details based on which website they accessed and the kind of content that they're viewing. So you can get the same details on reports based on the website, hits, the exact date and time. And this information is also available for IM messages. So I could go back and monitor my kids' IM messages remotely on the internet as well. So this is a great way to manage those features. This console will work from any device with an internet connection. So I manage it from my iPad. We have an Android phone where it works fine from. I can do it from my computer at work. This really makes your life a lot easier for helping you to manage your Net Nanny settings but not have to get directly back onto that computer that you wanted to protect. So this is obviously a key tool in allowing you to manage your Net Nanny settings. Now, as I mentioned before, just kind of to review the things that we've covered, alerts are the ability to get notified when a trigger event occurs. You can set those up from both the web console and from the admin console. Overrides can be done from the web console or from the local console on the computer, and the manage.netnanny.com is the website where you can go and do all this. So I want to invite you to try out these remote administrative privileges. They are very infrequently used. We actually did a survey with many of our customers and found out that only about 1 in 10 people are even aware that this feature exists. And when they learn to use it, they're much happier and much more satisfied with the product because they don't have to deal with the hassle of going home to make a setting change. Or, as I mentioned, my friend that his son called and wanted to remove Net Nanny because dad couldn't make a change. So these are kind of 3 key features that we wanted to introduce to you today. We have many other features that we've developed in this product that make it easy to use, much easier to understand. But right now, those are kind of the 3 key features that we wanted to focus on. A future webinar next month will cover some of these other features as well. I did want to open it up and see if anyone has any questions. But at the same time, I just wanted to thank everyone again for coming. And I wanted to point out that really over about 30% of the people we've talked to are much more satisfied, getting much more out of the product by just using those 3 features that we've been able to demonstrate today. So we want to invite you to give them a try and try them out. I apologize if I've been moving through the product too quickly for everyone. I am obviously pretty familiar with it, but I understand that not everyone deals with it all day, every day like I do, so I apologize for going through it so quickly. Please come back and take a look at the video because, like I said, these features are a great way to get the most out of the product. One of the questions I'm really seeing a lot of here is, can I control what happens when my family or kids get blocked? And I'm assuming that's what it is that's displayed when someone gets blocked. So I'm going to kind of show you how to do that in the product. It's relatively simple. Again, you can do this from the Manage console on the internet, or you can do it directly from the Net Nanny admin. I'll go ahead and jump into the admin. And this is really easy to set up. If you go here to web browsing, and people almost miss it, right here at the when blocked or warned, it says display. What that means is what will show up when someone gets a block message. You can click this drop-down message and change it to whatever you'd like. The dialog block is what I showed you earlier. Forbidden page appears to be like an internet website that you don't have access to. But the most commonly used one is the website option. So in my case, for my home settings, I've gone in here and set this to website and set this to Google. So what that means, when I open a web page, I'll open Chrome and show you what it looks like. I'll go to poker.net because I know we're blocking gambling content. You'll notice that instead of the page being displayed, I just get redirected to google.com. So you can kind of customize that to whatever you'd like, obviously. In my home, this has been a great feature because my kids tend to forget that they got blocked when they see the Google page and they just go search for something new. So we don't have that, hey, how come I got blocked conversation? But you can customize that to whatever you'd like. So you can kind of change that to other web pages, or you can have that display the forbidden page, or just kind of use the default Net Nanny block. So that's a great way to customize that. I'm looking here at some of our other questions. And then one of the other ones that it says here is, how can I get notified or get knowledge of cyberbullying? Which is a great question. There's a lot of concern around about cyberbullying in the world right now. Kids on social media sites, what's being said to them, etc. I can point out a few things in the product that will help you with this. And I talked about them a little bit before in the ability to manage or get alerted based on, I'll go here to show you, based on chat conversations. But I'll show you some other features that we can use as well. So I'm here in the Net Nanny console. The first thing I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to go down to social networking. Here under social networking, we can both report on where our kids are going as far as social networking sites, and we can also do social media capture. So you can actually capture your family's profiles based on where they're going on the internet. So this is a great feature for knowing where our kids are going. At the same time, you can also be alerted when IM conversations are potentially dangerous or inappropriate. And the way that you set that up is here under instant messaging. You'll notice these are the kinds of IM conversations that we're currently detecting or looking for. So, in some cases, you may not be concerned about age-related. If you jump down here to IM message monitoring, these are categories or conversation types that we're detecting. So in my case, I want to be detecting all types of conversations, and I want to be notified if one of these exists. Now, you may not be interested in all of these. Really common ones are going to be hurtful language, personal information, or direct threats. Those are all going to be related to cyberbullying, obviously. So if you leave those check marks in, and then jump here to Manage Alerts, and create an alert to be notified when a IM conversation is containing questionable content, you'll get an email saying, hey, your son Skippy's talking to this person, and this is what was said. And you can get information based on the conversation or the string that triggered the event, and then you can drill further into the reports by going into the reports and seeing what was said, so you can find out the context. Sometimes kids, when they talk back and forth, they're just pretending to hate each other when they really are best friends, those type of things. So this is a great way to be notified of cyberbullying. So I would suggest both monitoring the IM and monitoring the social media. It's a great way to help you protect your kids against cyberbullying. One of the real common questions that we get is the question that says, is there any way to find out what my family is searching for? Which, is really important if you're concerned about what kind of content your kids are accessing, and that's really easy to do. Here in the reporting, you'll notice there's a web searches button. This will show you, to start out with, the number of searches, the kind of content that is being searched for, and the search engines that they're using. So I'm just going to click here on the 12 searches that I've done today. Now, if you take a look at this report, you can see here the search term, the type of search, and the search engine that was used. So if you look at this, even before today's demo, this is where I pulled that picture of the hammer off of Google. You can see that I did the search and the time that I did the search. But you can see any search terms that your family's using and the exact time that they did it. Also, if you click on the term, it will actually do a Google search for you, so you can see what's there. So this is me testing the filter. I typed in building bombs to see what would happen, and I actually got a block when I clicked on one of the links. So you can kind of get some information there. So that's a real easy way to find out what your family's searching for. The last one that I was going to cover today that seems to be real frequently asked is, I created an exception, but I still get blocked when I go to that website, which is actually a really common support call that we get here too. People say, my son requested an exception, I allowed it, but when I go to this website, I still get blocked. And I think what typically happens is when you accept an exception, it's only specific to that web page that you're accessing. So I mentioned this a little bit before, but here under web exceptions, you'll notice that I've typed in names of just websites, abc.com, amazon.com. That means that anything on amazon.com would be allowed. But here, when someone sends a request, like we saw earlier with the AK-47 on wikipedia.com, that would only be specific to that one AK-47 website on Wikipedia. It wouldn't grant access to the entire website. So kind of keep that in mind as you manage exceptions. If your kids send you an exception request, it allows a page, but it doesn't allow a whole site. Whereas if you go into exceptions under web and type in a name of a whole site, then everything within that web page would always be allowed. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is that web pages often share content. A real common one is we talk to many people that block Facebook, and they'll go in here and just say, I'm going to create a rule to always block Facebook. Well, if Facebook content is getting pulled into the front page of foxnews.com or cnn.com, when you go to load that page, because Facebook is blocked, you're going to get a block page. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind as you manage the product. And so I kind of looked through some of those. Were kind of the bulk ones that we had asked many times, and I wanted to get those kind of knocked out of the way right away. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go to my web browser, and I'll go to manage.netnanny.com. Now, when you set up Net Nanny the first time on your computer or any of your devices, you created an admin account and an admin password. And there is an associated email address with that admin account. And you can easily see it if you don't remember what it is by going into the admin tools. I'll go here into admin. If you look at your admin user, and the admin profile, you can see that email address that you associated with. So if you forgot it, that's a good way to go back and look it up. Again, once you know that admin email address and your password, you go to manage.netnanny.com. You type in that email address. And you just log in. Now from here, as I mentioned before, this is all web-based. It's directly in your browser. On the left-hand side, you'll see your Net Nanny users that you've created. The user that I've been showing you on my local computer is this Ostler user. If you click on the user, you see the existing settings. We talked about customizing the block page here. You could change that. You can change the allowed and blocked information based on IM. So we talked about how you could go in here and set this up based on things that are a concern to your family, maybe for cyberbullying. So obviously, this is exactly like I showed you on the client, but hosted in the web. Things for social networking settings, additional settings where you can turn that remote viewing of reporting off and on. Some people like to manage it remotely, but they don't want to view the reports remotely, so you can turn that off and on. You can do the time controls, profile settings, all those same features that are local, but here out on the internet. One important thing to remember on any of these pages, to make sure you click the Save Changes button at the bottom. The way that this works is that within a 60-second period, your computer at home or at school or anywhere connected to the internet will replicate any changes that you've made on this console to the local computer and start to implement it. So within 60 seconds, you can make a change for your kids or for your family without having to go back to that local computer and make the changes. So I hope that covers it. I hope that answers any questions. Again, I want to thank everyone for your interest. It's flattering that we have as many people interested as have come today, and we're going to try hard to keep these webinars short, but also keep them interesting and help educate you more about the product and just about what's going on in the internet world, technology, and keeping our families safe. So thanks again for your time.